Ever felt like you're faking it, like you're just waiting for people to figure out that you are not as capable as they think? Trust me, I've been there. I used to feel like a fraud, even though on paper I had all the qualifications. But here's the thing, imposter syndrome isn't about reality, it's about what you believe. If you feel like no matter how much you achieve, you believe deep down that you're not really good enough, then you're not alone. Imposter syndrome keeps so many of us stuck and second-guessing our abilities and feeling like frauds. But what if I told you that breaking free from that feeling is possible, and it starts with one simple mindset shift. In this video, I'm sharing exactly how I beat imposter syndrome and reclaimed my confidence for good. Now, if you've watched me here on YouTube before, then welcome back. But if you are new to my channel, then welcome. I'm Dr. Kim Foster, and I'm an MD turned coach and wellness expert. So let's talk about imposter syndrome. In this video, we're going to cover what imposter syndrome is exactly, why it causes problems, and how it can hold you back. And then I'm going to give you my 5-step process for overcoming it. Before we get started, I just wanted to let you know about our new vlog channel that my husband and I recently launched. We're sharing a behind-the-scenes glimpse into our lives as we juggle work and travel and family while building a location-independent lifestyle between Canada and the UK. If you'd like to see how we put the wellness routines and the healthy habits that I talk about here into practice, along with some tips for living a more adventurous and fulfilling life, then come over and check it out. We would love to have you join us on this journey. The link is in the description below. Okay, so first up, what exactly is imposter syndrome? Well, it's that nagging feeling that no matter what you achieve, you don't really deserve it. You feel like at any moment, somebody's going to realize that you are not as talented or as smart as they thought. I remember a few years ago, I had just landed a big opportunity. It was a project that I had been working towards for months, but instead of celebrating, I was paralyzed by doubt. I thought, what if they realize that I don't know what I'm doing? The irony is that imposter syndrome happens to high achievers the most, people who are talented and capable and hardworking. You would think that all that success would make the doubts go away, but it actually amplifies them. Now, the real danger of imposter syndrome is not just the feeling of self-doubt, it's the opportunities that it makes you miss. The times that you play small or say no when you're actually ready for more. There was a time when I turned down a speaking engagement because I didn't think that I was qualified enough, even though I was. That one decision probably delayed some major growth in my career. I was holding myself back. So what about you? What would your life look like if you stopped listening to that voice in your head? If you silenced that inner critic and stepped fully into your potential? So let's dive into how you can start to shift this today. These are the exact steps that helped me to transform my relationship with imposter syndrome. Step 1 in overcoming imposter syndrome is recognizing when it's happening. It often sneaks in as thoughts like, I'm not good enough or I don't belong here, but these are fear-based, not reality. For me, it started with noticing these thoughts whenever I was about to take a big step. So instead of letting them spiral, I'd call them out. This is imposter syndrome talking. By labeling it, I could create distance between myself and the thought. So think about when these thoughts tend to pop up. Is it just before a presentation, or maybe when you get some positive feedback? Start paying attention. When I started asking myself, would I talk to a friend this way? I realized the answer was no. So a simple trick is to just write down the thoughts and ask, is this true? Or is this imposter syndrome? The more you practice recognizing it, the faster you will catch it the next time, and it won't have as much power over you. Now, if you want some additional support with observing your thoughts and mastering your mindset, then go ahead and download my free workbook that's called Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life. It's full of prompts to guide you in transforming your life from the inside out and questions to help you to assess your current mindset and discover the barriers that will hold you back. The link is in the description below. Okay, so once you recognize imposter syndrome thoughts, the next step is to reframe the narrative. Imposter syndrome absolutely thrives on negative self-talk, like I'm not good enough or I don't deserve this. But what if you flipped those thoughts into something more empowering? I had to actively challenge my own thoughts. When I would think stuff like I'm not qualified, I'd replace it with I've worked hard to be here and I'm capable. So it's not about ignoring the fear, it's about choosing a different story. For example, when I first started my coaching business, I thought I was a doctor. People didn't want to hear from me in this way. They wanted me to just diagnose their illnesses and write them a prescription. Those were the beliefs that I had just circulating around in my head. But how did those beliefs help me? Instead, I started saying to myself, I've helped many people and I am ready to help more in a new way, and other thoughts like that. With practice, it became a lot more natural to think those thoughts than my previous disempowering thoughts. One practical way to start is to just write down your negative thoughts and next to each one, write the opposite. So if you think, I'm not ready, replace it with, I've been preparing for this and I'm ready to learn. Over time, this shift will feel much more natural. Imposter syndrome just thrives on distortion, so reframing brings things back into focus. All right, step 3 is all about tracking your wins. Imposter syndrome often makes you forget your accomplishments and focusing only on what you haven't done or what you think that you're lacking. That's why it's crucial to start documenting your successes, no matter how small. When I first started doing this, I realized how many things I had been overlooking. Even after achieving something big, like completing a major project or hitting a personal goal, I would downplay it. I'd say things like, oh, that wasn't a big deal, or anyone could have done that. But when I started writing them down, I couldn't really ignore the evidence anymore. It might sound simple, but keeping a success journal was a game changer for me. Every day I would just jot down 1 or 2 wins, anything from landing a new client to even smaller victories like having a great conversation or sticking to a new habit. The point is to build up a bank of proof that shows that you are making progress, that you are capable. And here's what happens when you have these documented wins, you can look back on them when imposter syndrome starts to kick in. Instead of letting those doubts run wild, you have physical evidence that you do belong and that you're succeeding, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment. It's also a great way to see how far you've come. I remember looking back at my journal after a few months and thinking, wow, I've actually achieved a lot more than I realized. It helped me shift my mindset from I'm not doing enough to I'm on the right path and I'm growing every day. So start today, grab a notebook or a journal or just use your phone and start writing down your wins, big or small. Every time you feel that doubt creeping in, look back at your list. It's a tangible reminder that you are making progress and it can help you to combat those imposter thoughts when they arise. All right, step 4 is simple but powerful. Talk about it. Imposter syndrome thrives in silence. When you keep it all inside, it grows. But the moment that you open up and share what you're going through, it starts to lose its grip. I remember the first time that I admitted to somebody that I felt like a fraud. I was talking to a mentor and I said, I don't know why they picked me for this. I'm not good enough. I was sure that she was going to agree with me, but instead she laughed and said, oh, I felt that way too, definitely. That moment was a turning point because it made me realize that I wasn't alone. And that's the thing, most of us think that we are the only ones dealing with these feelings, but imposter syndrome is incredibly common. The more that I talk to people like friends and colleagues and even clients, the more I realized how many of them had the same doubts. We're all walking around feeling like we don't measure up, even though we do. Opening up takes the power away from those thoughts. It's like shining a light on them. They start to feel smaller and much less significant when you share them out loud. Plus, you never know who might give you the perspective that you need to see things differently. For me, just hearing somebody else say, I've been there, was enough to start shifting my mindset. So my advice is to find someone you trust, a friend, a mentor, or even a coach, and talk about how you're feeling. Be vulnerable and let them in on your fears. You'll probably be surprised at how many people relate to what you're going through. And once you've spoken it out loud, those doubts just don't seem so big anymore. The final step, and maybe the most important, is to take action anyway. Imposter syndrome feeds on inaction. The more you hesitate, the more that voice inside convinces you that you're not ready, you're not good enough, or you don't belong. But the reality is the only way to prove those thoughts wrong is by doing. Even if you're scared. I'll be honest, there have been plenty of times when I have felt paralyzed by self-doubt. Whether it was launching a new program or taking on a leadership role or even starting a YouTube channel, I felt that familiar imposter voice saying, "Who do you think you are?" But here's the thing. Every single time that I took action despite the fear, something amazing happened. For example, when I first launched a new program, I was terrified. I kept thinking, what if nobody signs up? What if people realize I'm not as good as they thought? But I decided to move forward anyway, even though that voice was still there. And you know what? People did sign up, and it turned out to be such a positive experience. And it showed me that the fear doesn't have to go away before you act. You just have to take the leap with the fear. Action is the antidote to imposter syndrome. When you do the thing that you are afraid of, you gather real evidence that your imposter thoughts were wrong. Every time you push through and take a step forward, you prove to yourself that you can do it. It doesn't matter if it's a small action or a big one. What matters is that you don't let the fear stop you. And here's the best part. The more you take action, the quieter that imposter voice becomes. It might not disappear completely, but you will start to recognize it for what it is. Just noise. For me, taking action has become my go-to strategy. Anytime I feel that imposter syndrome kind of creeping in, I remind myself that the only way to quiet it is to keep moving forward. So, what is something that you have been holding back on because of doubt? Is it a project, a new role, or something that you've been wanting to share with the world? My advice is take one small step. Make the call, submit the proposal, say yes to the opportunity, whatever it is, just do it. And you will quickly find that taking action, even when you're afraid, is the fastest way to break free from imposter syndrome. So, what happens when you start overcoming imposter syndrome? For me, it was like stepping into a new version of myself, more confident, more willing to take risks, and finally able to own my success. Imagine what your life would look like if you stopped second guessing yourself, if you stepped into opportunities without doubting whether you're ready or qualified. It is possible, and it's so freeing. Remember, imposter syndrome doesn't mean that you are not good enough. It just means that you're human. I still feel it sometimes, but now I know how to handle it, and you can too. So drop a comment below. Let me know if you have dealt with imposter syndrome and how you're overcoming it. And don't forget to grab my free workbook, Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life, if you are ready for an even deeper dive into things. If you enjoyed this video, I think you're going to love the video that I am going to link above here, which is all about how to let go of what is no longer serving you. I will see you there. Thing in my eye. Okay. Just ignore that. That should be okay. No, don't ignore it. Okay, I gotta go check this. Oh my God. Okay, that should be sorted. Okay, where was I?